Howdy y'all, Fuzzy Biker here. We're in the mighty metropolis of Marnie, Iowa at Baxter Cycle, and look what we have behind us today. This is going to be a comparison video. We're going to compare this Royal Enfield Hunter 350 to this beautiful Scram Royal Enfield Himalayan Scram 411. And the reason we're going to do that is I've been getting a lot of questions about the differences between these two models. They kind of cover a good niche, a little bit of overlap. And also, the other thing about these bikes is they both are sporting AEW Thunder mufflers. That's the polished stainless steel, and this is the black one. And we'll try to run these up here in a minute when we get going, but isn't that pretty? Just a gorgeous thing. Both these bikes have been modified. So okay, let's just kind of go over the basics real quick. The Scram has a 411cc single overhead cam, 9.5 to 1 compression, 24 horsepower, 24 foot-pounds of torque. That's 32 Newton meters. 5-speed transmission right there. It's an air-cooled motorcycle, air and oil cooled. There's the oil cooler right there. It's got the 300 millimeter disc on the front, ABS with a 2-pot, that's 2-piston bi-breed caliper. The rear has got a 240 millimeter single pot or single piston bi-breed. Like I said, ABS front and rear. The forks on the front are 41 millimeter on this with 7.5 inches of travel right here. They're covered, which they all should be. That's about 190 millimeters, by the way. The rear has about 7.1 inches of travel, or about 180 millimeters. The tires on this bike, let's get a good look at those here. These are sporting Seats. The front is a 190/19, so it's 19-inch tall. And the rear is a 120/90/17. It's a little wider than the front. Seats front and back. I had Seats on my Himalayan. They worked really well. I liked them. Wheelbase on a bike like this, 57.3 inches. That's 1,455 millimeters. Ground clearance is about 200 millimeters or 7.9 inches. And seat height on this bike, and this is a good number, 31.3 inches. That's 795 millimeters. That's kind of an interesting thing we're going to talk about between the seat height of this bike and that bike. 4-gallon gas tank on this one. That's 15.1 liters. And the weight of this bike is 408 pounds, 182 kilograms wet. So let's jump over to this hot rod. Go through the numbers on this one. This has a 349cc, or 349cc, single overhead cam again. 9.5 to 1 compression. The reason the compression 9.5 to 1 is significant is that means you can use regular pump gas. 20 horsepower engine. It's about also with 20 foot-pounds of torque. It's about 27 Newton meters. This also has a 5-speed transmission. I love the transmissions on these. They're actually smoother than those. They both have good transmissions, but this transmission is kind of a little bit of a piece of art. This bike weighs 399 pounds wet. That's 182 kilograms. Has a 3.5-gallon gas tank. But it also gets better fuel mileage, so range is probably equal, might even be more on this one. Seat height on this one, 31.1 inches, so that's 790 millimeters. Now if you were to sit on these, you would think, you know, that 5 millimeters wouldn't be that big of a deal. This bike feels significantly shorter and smaller than that one, and I think it's because the center of gravity is much lower, and we'll go into that here in a little bit. Ground clearance on this bike is 5.9 inches, that's 150 millimeters. And wheelbase is 53.9 inches. That's 1,377 millimeters. So that's significantly shorter than the other one. The brake on this is the same 300 millimeter bi-breed with ABS, dual pot, 2-piston. And the rear is a larger 270 millimeter single pot bi-breed. Tires on this are, this is kind of a cool numbers. This has 17s front and back. The front tire is a 180/17. Significance of that means it's lighter, less mass. It handles a little better, and we'll talk about that in a minute. The rear on this is a 140/70/17. It does look wider, doesn't it? This, I think, was a 120. This is the 140. That's the width of the tire, by the way. Forks on this are also 41 millimeter. I believe the travel on this is 5.1 inches, and that's about 130 millimeters. These are also covered. I think forks should either be covered or protected. The rear travel is about 4 inches. About 102 millimeters. And the question we're going to try to answer today is, which one would you buy? Let's start with just aesthetics. If immediately, I would say if you like the looks of one over the other, buy the one that looks better for you. They both overlap quite a bit. Where do they differ? I would say this is more nimble handling. It feels lower to the ground, easier to push around, has a much shorter wheelbase. We were talking about that. A smaller front tire. This is more road oriented, I would say. And this also has less of a top speed, maybe 75 miles an hour top speed. This has less electronics as far as this is, well, let's go over here. This has the day tripper nav system. This ties in with your phone. That's really the big difference electronic wise. That ties in with your phone to give you turn-by-turn directions, so how far you have to go and things like that. Other things about this over that, if you are going to buy like a farm bike, or you're going to do a little more dirt, any dirt really, or a significant amount of dirt, this would probably be better. It has more ground clearance, has much more suspension. I have a Himalayan, by the way, a standard Himalayan, and I've never bottomed out. It's just, that's how good the suspensions are on it. So this is much more suspension. The downsides of this one compared to this one is it feels significantly taller, even though it's only, I think it's what, half an inch taller, or half a centimeter, half a centimeter taller, something like that. It feels significantly taller. I think the weight is higher up in the frame, where the engine is a couple inches higher. It's also a bigger, heavier engine, and I think that kind of affects how it feels. So this one, the engine actually hangs. The frame stops here. There's nothing under the frame here. Just empty space. So the bottom part is actually engine, and the foot pegs are back here on mounts. Why would you buy one over the other? You're going to be more city oriented. You are more concerned with handling, nimble handling, sport bike handling, things like that. This is the way to go. You're not concerned with the 75 mile an hour top speed, 65 to 75, 65 dependably, 75 with the wind. This bike has more top speed, 85 miles an hour, I'd say. Has a significant amount more torque. You can feel that when you're riding it. It feels like a much heavier bike, even though it's only 10 pounds difference. It has more ground clearance, and it has the electronics, the different electronics. So let's just kind of look over the details. Let's start with this one. This one's been kind of tricked out a little bit. It's got the hand guards, Royal Enfield hand guards. I have these on my Himalayan. I dropped my Himalayan a couple weeks ago, right on this side. Handguard did just fine. They've got engine guards on this model. I think that might be, oh no, they've got it's kind of a dress up here, oil cover. Same here with the brake. And of course the pipe. We'll come back to the pipe here in a minute. I love the styling of these. The thing about these, the headlight here moves compared to a normal standard Himalayan. The headlight moves with the handlebars. On a standard Himalayan, it's solid. The headlight stays in the direction of the frame. They're much lighter handling than a normal Himalayan. Still has a 19-inch tire. You could easily run this in the city all day long and feel just great. And then on the weekends hit the dirt, with no trouble. I mean, this bike would just do it. I really, if your goal was like my Himalayan sees about 50% dirt, 50% pavement. And I think in that case, that is a bike for me. If I was going to do less than that, let's say 30% or 20%, I would probably go over to one of these. So let's talk about this pipe. This is an aftermarket pipe, AEW Thunder, I think is what it's called, AEW Thunder. Stainless steel, significantly lighter than the stock pipe, very good looking. The baffle comes out. I have not heard it with the baffle out. They're telling me it sounds great. It sounds like Thunder. But look at the quality there. I mean, it's just a really good looking, excellent weld. Nice cover over this. I love this bracket, I mean, look at that. Big old rubber bushing in there to absorb. Nice thick plate. I mean, looks really well done. I like that. I like that. This is all a Baxter cycle, by the way. And this bike is on their website. The price for that one, this bike as it sits, is $58, $49, $99. I think that's out the door. And that includes a 3-year warranty with roadside assistance. So add-ons here, compact engine guards, adventure hand guards, reservoir cap, billet oil cover, and the AEW Thunder muffler. Pretty darn good, I'd say, huh? Blazing black is the color. So let's switch over to this bike. This bike is not stock either. This has been modified just a little bit. Well, let's kind of look over it. It's got the smaller tire, mag wheels versus spokes. That means the tires are tubeless. It's got this neat shorty fender. You can actually remove this section if you want. The covers and the fork, they put this fly screen on there. Isn't that neat? I like the way that looks. These bikes, I've got the 350 Classic. And one of the things I really love about it are these grips. I've got about 2,500 miles on my Classic. I got it about 3 weeks ago. And the grips are just, they're hard and soft. I don't know how to explain that, but they feel very good in the hand. And the other thing about these bikes, they've done this in all the 350s, is these grips are they're just right. They feel right in your hand. If you get yourself over to Baxter Cycle and just try to give one of these a squeeze. And while we're here, because I always forget, I'm going to mention, there is a USB port right here, so you can charge your phones or whatnot. Moving back, I think this is an amazing, I'm a reg guy, so I love the way this looks. Look at that, isn't that just gorgeous? Absolutely beautiful. Red, the Enfield, the gold, you know, the Royal Enfield in gold, the Enfield right here, the stripe, again, these are Enfield colors, by the way, black, gold, and red. You know, the molded cover. One thing I would like to point out, and I was noticing this early on, if you look at these lines, just like that here, but it also goes down like this and up, or you could even say it goes down like this and up. Just very well, it's sculpted. It's just very well done on their part, and I'm really happy with it. I really like that. This bike has, I think I already mentioned, the engine guards are installed. This cover up here. The big thing that they added here, I thought that looked like a stock muffler, but it's not. That is also an AEW Thunder muffler, and they sell these at Baxter Cycle. They got a shipment of them in while they last anyway. They're really quite the pipe. You know, let's keep looking at the bike though. Isn't it just a pretty motorcycle? I'm on the wrong side, right? You know, just a gorgeous. I love the seat. I love these cast aluminum. And these are very rigid, gorgeous back end. These are very stylized. I just think they're gorgeous. Let's see if we can start it. Are we in neutral? Oh, well, while we're here, let's talk about this. We'll talk about this. Okay, switch gear. Up here is your information button to switch information in there. We'll look at that in a second. Pass to flash, and then high lows, blinkers, horn. Over here is the kill switch, run switch, start switch, hazard lights, and of course the gas. Now over here it's a single Oculus. Check that out. Fuel light, engine light, ABS light, neutral light, analog speedometer on the outside, digital fuel gauge on the inside, gear indicator. That's a really nice feature. Clock, and then over here it says odometer. Using this information button, if you watch this right here, trip A, trip B, odometer. Here, I'm gonna, you know, everything you need in one spot. Everything, just gorgeous. Oh yeah, we're gonna start this, weren't we? All right, let's see what happens. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I have not heard this pipe on this bike yet. All right, we've heard that one. Let's run over here and hear this one. We are in neutral. Let's see what happens when we hit start. AEW Thunder muffler. I like that. I like that. Me gusta mucho. I love it. I love it. Which one would I buy? I'd get both. I love them both. This is an awesome pavement burner. Baxter Cycle made one of these where they put the pipe on it and they, you know, tricked it out with a neat seat and all that neat stuff. And we did some road burning video with the White Lightning bike, I think it was called. Just a gorgeous machine. We took it down a really curvy, twisty back road, old wore out pavement. It just did awesome. This would do the same thing. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of trying to get myself on one of these. I want to do a 100-mile ride on one of these. And we'll probably try to get that done in the next week or two so we can find out what this is like on those kind of roads. If you're going to do no dirt or very little dirt and you weren't concerned with going over 65, 70 miles an hour, get that one. If you want a little more power, a little more speed, a little bigger bike, a little more ground clearance for off-roading, get this one. I love them both. And if you really want to go burn up some pavement, take a look at one of these. All right, y'all, if you're interested in something like this or something like that or something like that, get yourselves over here to Baxter Cycle or in Marnie, Iowa, or get over to baxtercycle.com and check out what they got. If the weather is nice where you're at, get out and ride. Wahoo!